So the other day, someone called me a coward for leaving the United States. Of course, it was on Facebook. Some keyboard princess decided that she was going to chime into a private conversation. I was posting on a friend's Facebook page about why I had moved to Mexico, and out of nowhere, this woman who wasn't even part of the conversation said, "I'm glad you left, you're a coward." And I have to admit, it pissed me off. Not that she called me a coward. This woman doesn't know me, she doesn't know anything about me. What made me mad was that she felt like she was entitled to jump into a private conversation and throw her 2 cents in without knowing anything about me. And it's one of the things that I think has really damaged the United States, is all of these entitled people who think that they know something when they're ignorant. They don't know shit, and they feel like they have the right to call you names or shut you down. So I responded to this woman, and I'm like, "I'm a coward? You don't know me. I spent 12 years as an infantry officer. Like, who are you?" And then I tagged my friend who I had been messaging previously. I'm like, "Who is this dumb bitch? Who is she that she has the right to come and attack me when I've done nothing to her and she's not even part of the conversation?" And then I went and I told my Mexican girlfriend, I said, "Hey, some woman on Facebook called me a coward for leaving the United States." And her response was really interesting. She said, "You're the bravest person I know. This woman is bullshit." I love it when she says that, it's bullshit. But she said, "You're the bravest person I know." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "You sold your house in the United States. You sold everything that you owned. You packed your dog and some clothes and a computer into a small car, and you drove to another country where you wouldn't be able to get a job, and you didn't speak the foreign language, that language." Like, she goes, "I couldn't go to the United States and do that. You did it by yourself. That's really, really brave." And so the reason I'm making this video is because after I calmed down from this woman's insult, assault, whatever you want to call it, I started asking some questions like, what exactly was I supposed to stay and fight for? And who was I fighting for? Was I fighting for MAGA? I don't think so by the way that she phrased it. I think that she's probably a liberal Democrat, and that I was supposed to stay and fight against President Trump and his policies. But I don't know that because the woman didn't make it clear. Was I supposed to stay and fight for the Constitution? I don't know why I was supposed to stay and fight. Maybe she thought that I was supposed to stay and fight for her rights to be able to get onto a electronic device and insult people. I don't know. So I'm curious, if you've moved to Mexico or any country for that matter, has someone from the United States called you a coward for leaving your country or betraying your country to go pursue another life, other dreams? So let me know in the comments, because I'm really curious. I'm trying to figure out what the purpose of that comment was, and the more I've thought about it, the more I realized that I think it was more about jealousy, envy, that I had the balls to get rid of everything, burn the boats or the ships, so to speak. And I went to a foreign country. I saw the problems in advance. I knew they were going to get worse, and I decided I wasn't going to wait till I was too old or unable to go, and that I wanted to start a new life now. And so I left, and I think that's part of her anger. She's watching her world change. She has no control over it. And she wanted me to stay and fight for her right to have whatever she had before. And she doesn't have that now. But she doesn't have the means, maybe, the financial means to leave, or she doesn't have the courage to do what I did. So she's going to lash out and say that I should stay. That's almost like the analogy where the crabs, where one crab is almost out of the trap and the rest of the crabs reach up and grab them and pull them back down because they don't want that one crab to escape. But that's the purpose of this video. I want to see if I can start a dialogue on if you've been insulted or assaulted, or I know a lot of people will say, hey, you're crazy to move to Mexico or that stuff, but to actually say that you should stay and fight. You know, many times on Facebook I see comments like, I'm glad you left, you know, if you don't like the United States, then get out. Well, okay, it's a free country. At least it is today. It may not tomorrow. You may not be able to leave tomorrow. But I had the means, I did the research, and I made a choice on many levels to leave the United States and start a life someplace new. You know, and I think the reverse when I think about Mexicans who have gone north to find a better life, that go and work in the fields in California, Washington, or who go into construction. How terrifying it must be that you're going to go into a country where you don't speak the language. You know, I have a lot of empathy for them because I've done it, you know, but I also did it legally, so I don't look over my shoulder for ICE or the police. You know, a lot of the immigrants that have gone, they're working jobs nobody else wants to work, and they're doing it illegally, and they don't speak the language. So despite what people think about whether they should do it or not do it, or if it's legal or illegal, or change the laws, I have a lot of respect for the people that do it, because it's not easy. And they have the courage to go and try to make money for their family and send it back. Anyway, that's enough of my rant. I've been on YouTube for I think 10 months now, and this is my first rant. So let me know what you think. Seriously, I want to know if you think that I'm a coward because I left the United States, or if you have a more intelligent response than that. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, or watch one of my other videos here in Mexico. I would really appreciate it, and you guys have a great day.